Believe it or not, but you can choose to be passive or active while creating. Taking the passive artistic approach means that you basically let the creation process control you and your decisions, and instead of leading your art, it leads you. Hi everybody, I'm Sharon and my videos are my way to help you overcome creative obstacles, improve your techniques and really maximize each and every creative session you take, so you could unlock your creativity and create art that touches others. On today's video, I'm about to share my latest creation that was created in a rather passive way. I will share some tips so you would know what to expect when trying this approach yourselves. And who knows, you might just end up liking it. So with no further ado, let's get into it. The passive approach is by definition less expected and harder to predict. So the first tip, at least for your few first attempts, is to work with a focal point that you don't afraid to ruin. Here, for example, I printed a copy of my own drawing. Instead of working directly on a drawing I invested hours and hours in. While in the active approach you will most probably start from scratch with a blank surface, in a passive approach you will start with a pre-made background. And this will pretty much set in motion a snowball of decisions that are going to be your piece. This background is one that I made in a previous art sessions with my kids in a special technique that calls having fun, but this is a story for another video. Going with the passive approach is a delicate dance between you and your piece. I felt like the background will be too distracting with its intense colors, so with a baby wipe dabbed with gesso, I toned down the colors. I'm defining the composition area using decor transfer. All the products I have used will be linked in the description box below. When your art piece is leading you, it also means that you are more exposed to doing mistakes. The process is intuitive and you don't really think on each step you take, but more responding to what that is happening. I noticed that some of the ink I have used in the background was activated by the medium gel I was using to adhere the portrait and was staining it. It made the expression on her face look rather sad and gloomy, so I decided to emphasize this emotion even more. While adding some decor transfer on her face, I accidentally scratched the delicate paper, which was still a bit wet from the medium gel. I knew I will have to attend this matter, but I continued with my process until I felt ready to deal with it. The background I chose was colorful and I could choose to go with one or two dominant colors, but I decided to go with the flow and reflect this colorfulness in the elements I chose. So you can see I have flowers in many different colors. The first attempt to fix this scratch of paper near the eye was by shading with some colored pencils, but it didn't completely work. I kept shading with blue and purples the shaded areas of the face as I wanted to soften the realistic look of the drawing, add some vivid colors into it, and to integrate the portrait with the background. Usually I choose 1 or 2 colors as my accent colors, but in this case, since the background was kind of dictating the atmosphere, I felt more like adding bursts of colors and give the background back some of the vividness I toned down with the gesso at the beginning. Taking the passive approach is in a way quite meditating and bringing out to the surface inner emotions. So in this part I was just flowing with my ideas, which led to giving this young woman a colorful tears that I felt like reflecting some of my thoughts about a devastating incident I just read about lately on a young woman which was celebrating her youth in one moment and was being sexually assaulted a moment later. I was thinking a lot whether to mention it in my video, but I wanted you to know what this piece meant to me, and I also wanted to share how this process can take you to places you didn't even think of when you just started creating. Even here, I struggled with some unpredictable issues. The water started to activate the ink from the background, and my portrait became completely stained. I continue working in order to give myself some time to understand whether I like it or not, and to decide how to approach it. When finally I decided that I have no choice but to replace the portrait with a new copy and work again on the tears and the shadows. I think it's a great example for how we don't need to be afraid from our mistakes and how everything is fixable in one way or another. A few weeks back I created with the same portrait a completely different piece using a much more active approach, knowing how and why I'm doing each step of the way. Click here to see the process and learn some tips on mixed media layering too. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again in the next video.